It's been said for generations that fortune favors the bold, so when a video game company wants to promote their work, churning out a few trailers and posters isn't always going to cut it. To sell a brand, new or otherwise, effectively, things might need to get a little crazy. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 9 worst video game marketing campaigns ever. Number 9. Threatening a crowd with a fake gun. Splinter Cell Conviction. Almost everything about Splinter Cell Conviction was a colossal misfire, from a reveal that showed Sam Fisher as a table-flipping action hero with some notably clunky moves, to gameplay that just didn't have the same pace or payoff as the original trilogy. Nearing release, Ubisoft needed to make people pay attention to this new direction for the IP, and decided to run a promotion in New Zealand that was sure to leave an impression. Somehow, they settled on hiring an actor to walk into a crowded bar in Auckland before threatening the locals with a fake firearm. Unsurprisingly, the situation played out exactly as you'd imagine. Instead of the customers saying, "Oh, look, a gentleman is clearly promoting a video game," everyone hid under the tables or ran out the establishment in terror. Worse still, the actor portraying the gunman was nearly shot on sight by police. Some marketing campaigns only seem dumb in hindsight, and Ubisoft marketing manager Dwayne Mutu would say, "We do apologize, we shouldn't have had guns down there." Or, you could have just shown off the mark and execute feature a bit more. Number 8. Give your kid a dumb name for $10,000. Turok Evolution. Few gaming companies embrace marketing gimmicks like Acclaim, at least they did before they went defunct. So when Turok Evolution was about to hit shelves, Acclaim started brainstorming ways to reach more people than ever before. What did they come up with? Well, Acclaim spokesperson Alan Lewis said they needed something unprecedented, since it was tough to leave a lasting impression in the rough and tumble world of 2002. With that in mind, the company would offer $10,000 in savings bonds to the first parents who named their baby Turok. In the UK, they were also handing out £500 for up to 5 people who'd legally changed their active name to Turok as well. Sadly, Acclaim went out of business in 2004, not being able to follow up on any of this properly, though VG247 did find out in 2020 that the 5 supposed winners of the UK competition were actors all along. Number 7. Scattering body parts around a major city. Resident Evil 5. For the launch of Resident Evil 5, Monument PR created a zombie-oriented scavenger hunt, where the winner would be rewarded with a trip to Africa. For the contest, participants had to find props which resembled human body parts in a specific section of London. Even though these limbs were from a mannequin, they looked very convincing, since they were drenched in blood and pieces of chicken liver. Now you might be wondering, couldn't the props be mistaken for real dismembered limbs? Yes, that's exactly what happened. Several people who were oblivious to the scavenger hunt stumbled upon these disembodied appendages and immediately called the police. Participants in the scavenger hunt were also asking random people on the street if they'd seen dead body parts, which scared the hell out of them and added to the police trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Even worse or weirder is that several props, including a head, 2 torsos, and half a dozen limbs, weren't even accounted for after the hunt had wrapped up. And we all thought Chris punching a boulder was the weirdest thing to come out of Resident Evil 5. Number 6. What's in the box? Watch Dogs. As Watch Dogs centers around hacking, Ubisoft did their best to implement this into the marketing itself. In a promotional ad from 2014, we see customers being pranked by a fake retailer who seemingly manipulates their phones to hack lights, cars, and even ATM machines. Even though this was a great way to market the game, not all of Ubisoft's ideas were met with the same level of positivity. That very same year, they decided to generate some buzz by placing a copy of the game, a baseball cap, and a beanie inside a black safe, before sending it to news outlet 9MSN's office in Australia. The package came with a letter which informed the reader to check their voicemail, which would then apparently explain how to unlock the safe door. Rather than follow the instructions, employees tried to open the lock themselves, which caused the safe to start beeping. Fearing there was an explosive inside about to go off, the office was evacuated and the bomb squad was called in. The crew moved the safe to the building's basement before opening it, eventually revealing the harmless swag bag within. Number 5. Just desecrate your family's gravestone. Shadowmans Second Coming. Yep, it's time for Acclaim again. The most important part of a promotion is always to ensure potential buyers know a product exists. So when Acclaim was about to release Shadowmans Second Coming, they needed to slap images of the sequel in places where everybody could see them. Bus stops, subways, etc. Due to Shadowman's morbid premise, someone involved thought it was logical to actively promote in cemeteries. This strategy, which was called deadvertising, involved paying participants to place a billboard of Second Coming on their relatives' gravestones. Acclaim came across as next-level insensitive and notably out of touch when they suggested their campaign actually benefited poor families, who might be struggling with funeral costs in the first place. Their comments sparked such an outrage from the Church of England, Acclaim abandoned the campaign entirely. Ironically, Shadowman 2's bungled stunt generated more attention than the game itself. Number 4. Put out a hit on your friends with insulting descriptions. Hitman Absolution. When a video game property revolves around an assassin, promoters have more of an excuse to think outside the box to get creative. Sadly, IO Interactive completely missed the target when releasing Hitman Absolution's first teaser, depicting Agent 47 shooting a group of latex-clad nuns. The trailer was criticized for its misogynistic and sexual connotations, forcing the game's director Tor Blystad to apologize. Whilst this advert went viral in all the wrong ways, helping bury Absolution alongside its various gameplay and level design changes, 2 weeks after launch, IO released an app allowing users to figuratively hire Agent 47 to assassinate their Facebook friends. This could have been cute or fun if there was a way to escape or fight back, but it was unnecessarily mean-spirited. Needing users to identify targets through pre-programmed descriptions, you'd have to tell your friend that they had a muffin top, a tiny penis, various other comments on their body, or other things that encourage cyberbullying. None of this was anything anyone would ever want to randomly hear. Recognizing the psychological harm the app could use, IO Interactive agreed to remove the feature from the App Store the day it launched. Hitman Absolution definitely has its fans thanks to some spectacularly over-the-top kills, but its advertising was legendarily mishandled. Number 3. God of War 2. During the early days of spectacle fighters, Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, God of War's over-the-top bloodshed secured its legacy in the gaming world. In order to promote the sequels, Sony held an Athenian-themed media event, which featured scantily clad women and an actor dressed as series protagonist Kratos. Unfortunately, everything was overshadowed by the party's centerpiece, a literal dead goat. Although this animal was supposed to represent a sacrifice to the Greek gods, many thought it was in poor taste, especially when it lay there for the duration of the show. When UK outlet The Daily Mail learned of the event, Sony's misfire became the most controversial gaming story of 2007. The newspaper heavily embellished details of the get-together, erroneously stating the goat was freshly decapitated and attendees were expected to pull out the creature's organs. Anti-video game campaigner Keith Vaz demanded consumers boycott Sony products, and Sony eventually made a statement, noting that the presser was nowhere near as depraved as initially reported, though they did agree that some parts were in poor taste. Number 2. Encourage speeding and crashing your car. Burnout 2 Point of Impact. Last time for Acclaimed, as this one really could have gotten people killed. The Burnout franchise has always separated itself from other racers by focusing more on dangerous speeds and aggressive driving. Alongside that, Burnout made its name, especially with the mighty Burnout 3, on spectacularly chunky, satisfying crashes, giving you a speed boost and challenging you to play even faster. Because the series was synonymous with dangerous driving, Acclaim took this into consideration while selling Burnout 2 Point of Impact. To bring mass awareness to the follow-up, the company announced they would pay for any speeding ticket in the UK on October 11th, 2002, the game's launch date. At first, this sounded like a clever enough thinking outside the box idea. Acclaim could maybe swoop in like a celebrity in an insurance advert, pay someone's traffic fine and get word of mouth advertising going that very same day. However, the British government immediately asked Acclaim to redact the whole thing, since their sales pitch fundamentally relied on reckless driving, and doing something to warrant a speeding ticket in the first place. Not wanting to get involved in a potential lawsuit, the company took the deal off the table several days later. And number 1, changing a console's entire release plan last minute. Sega Saturn. It's easy to see why the Sega Saturn is intertwined with the word failure, considering it was discontinued after only 3 years on the market. The console wasn't let down by bad games or technical limitations, it died out because of a historic promotional screw-up. When the Saturn launched in Japan, it sold very well, mainly because of how Virtua Fighter was ported so successfully to home console. Although the Saturn was set for a global release on September 1995, Sega of Japan brought the launch forward by 4 months to avoid competing with the unstoppable PlayStation. Because gamers were eager to get their hands on the latest console, the early release of the Saturn sounded like a dream come true. However, the way Sega went about this decision was disastrous. On May 11, 1995, Sega of America CEO Tom Kalinske announced at E3 that the Saturn was available that day, and the company had already shipped 30,000 units to Toys R Us, Walmart, and various other stores. Retailers were furious by a literal last-minute change that they couldn't plan for, and many had no time or way to adjust for stocks accordingly. Some retailers like KB Toys were so upset by Sega's incompetence, they refused to sell the Saturn altogether. Considering the system only had 6 games available, it was all the more reason why the Saturn should have stuck with its original date. This fiasco didn't just sink the Saturn, it left Sega with a reputation for outright incompetence in the West, something the company maintained until it abandoned the console business altogether in 2001. And that's our rundown of some of the worst video game marketing mistakes in history. Let me know your favorites down in the comments below and if there were any others that I missed. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. Please subscribe to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and I'll catch you soon.